Okay, great. Well, thank you all very much, and for your comments. And you can put anything more in the chat that you'd like to. And let's switch over to golf. Okay, and we're going to start with Shane.
Thank you.
Dig in. So, say that again.
So my question is, I'm starting to play really good golf, and mindfulness has had a big part in that. And the last few times I've played, I'm finding myself shooting even or close to even on the front, and then playing very protective in the back to try to keep my score intact, instead of playing the way I did on the front to get to where I am. So I'm wondering, can you give me some advice on how to kind of change my mindset on the back to just keep playing?
Absolutely. Okay, so we have 2 or 3 different things that are going on. One is, and the main one that I encounter, because I have a lot of students who say, well, you know, when I play poorly on the front, I play great on the back. When I play well on the front, I play poorly on the back. So what's happening is you're getting ahead of yourself.
Okay.
And you're thinking about your 18-hole score before you're done. So the question is, how many 11-hole scores have you turned in? Not too many.
None.
So what are you doing thinking? What are you doing thinking about your score on 18 while you're playing number 11? But we do tend to do that. So you can use the ninja system, the necessary intention, non-judgmental awareness, by just every time you're thinking about your overall score, you just put a little mark down and say, back to the present, the shot that I'm playing, just the shot that I'm playing. But I have something even further, and that is a game plan that you can use that separates yourself out from score. And for your level, if you're playing near even par, you want to say, give myself the best chance for birdie without taking an unnecessary risk. For higher handicaps, whatever net birdie is, that's what you're doing. So give yourself a chance for net birdie without taking an unnecessary risk. And if you hit it in trouble or miss the green, give myself the best chance for net par without taking an unnecessary risk. And that separates you out from the overall score. It doesn't matter what your score is on going into a particular hole, or whether you triple bogeyed the last hole or eagled the last hole. It doesn't matter. You have the same game plan on the next hole. Now, the next element that goes with that is something that I refer to as Amen Corner. Now, you've heard that expression before, right? That is holes 11, 12, and 13 at the Masters at Augusta National. It happens at a particular point in the round where you might be a little tired. You have to check your nutrition and your hydration. I just did a playing lesson, and suddenly, about 2/3 of the way through, this guy started mishitting shots. We couldn't figure out what it was. And he said, oh yeah, I went to the dentist and I didn't feel like eating, so I haven't eaten anything all day. I gave him an energy bar. He had half of the energy bar, and in 5 minutes, he was hitting great shots again. So check your nutrition and your hydration. But that happens right at that point between 11 and 15, in sometimes 10 and 15, holes 10 and 15 in your round. You're a little tired, you're a little dehydrated, you maybe ate too much at the turn, maybe you haven't eaten yet. And also, particularly, if you have a bad hole early in the round, you have a lot of holes to make up for it. Right then, 12, 13, you can see the finish line, but the adrenaline hasn't kicked in yet, and you think, you know, I can't afford to make a mistake here. I've got to be careful and not give any back. And in fact, Jordan Spieth was leading the Masters last time he was in contention. He was 5 strokes ahead as he made the turn. And he was very generous explaining his mental game after the round, because he lost to Danny Willett. And he said, this is where he lost it. He didn't lose it because he double bogeyed number 12. He lost it when he came off the green on number 9, because he said to his caddy, if we just par in, we've got this one. And that was the worst thing that he could have said. And he started making tentative defensive swings. And that's what got him in trouble on 10, 11, and 12. So the key is to stick with this game plan and keep trying to shoot your best score on the hole without taking unnecessary risk. Don't change don't change your game plan. Stay with the game plan that got you to where you already were. Once you get to 15, 16, 17, the adrenaline will start to kick in. You don't have to worry so much about your nutrition, although it's good to keep that up. But those holes are the amen corner that get you in trouble. And you'll see if you watch a tournament, that's where the leaders struggle, right between 10 and 15. And then either they go south and never recover, or they kick it into gear in those last few holes. I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna let you unmute yourself. So go ahead and if you want, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. That's so great. So I'm playing tomorrow. I'm gonna put it into practice.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Dr. Joe.
You're welcome. And I think that was your question, carrying the good play from the front to the back and not play protecting the front nine. Yeah,
correct.
That's already done. Okay, so we have another question that came in that I want to address, and that is after surgery to fix a herniated disc. And
this is Pete. He can
protect the back.
Pete can actually ask the question himself.
Okay.
Yeah, he made it to the.
Pete, there's Pete. Go for it.
Hi, doctor. I was about a 5-6 handicap, 3 years or so ago. Then I started having back problems and eventually had a surgery to fix a herniated disc about 20 months ago. And since then, I'm now at 12, and I think that's generous. But my game has just gone south, inconsistent ball striking. It's starting to get better, but I think I got in some bad habits from trying to protect my back, maybe trying to come back too soon, and it's been hard to get rid of that. And then I'll find myself getting into trying to hurry when I'm hitting out into the woods and trying to punch out and trying not to keep my group, held up, too much. And it seems like when I get, I'll get a string of double bogeys, going. But yet then, like this past weekend, I did okay. Started out bad, then I parred 5 holes in a row. Then out of nowhere, I top a tee shot on 13 and make a triple, and so on. And I think it spills over into all facets of the game, trying to get the ball close from off the green, or when I get on the green, when I'm trying to either save par or bogey, trying to make that first putt and end up 3-putting, sometimes. So I'm playing in the senior club championship this weekend. I used to do pretty well in that. Now I'm a little anxious about it, but not in a real good way.
I understand. Okay, so let's unpack a little bit of that. To start with, let's talk about the injury. And I was with Jimmy Johnson, who's the caddy for Justin Thomas. He's an old friend. I know Jimmy from caddying for Justin Thomas, and also for Steve Stricker, and before that for Nick Price. So it goes. We've known each other for over 20 years. Now, he said Steve was struggling because he came back too soon from an injury, and Jimmy said this great thing. He said, Doc, I've never known a golfer to say, I'm not playing well because I took too long to come back from my injury. So it's very possible that happened. I'm sure you have someone that you can look to for some swing instruction. And if you have any videos of how you played before you hurt your back, have a look at that. That's one thing. And say, can I still do that without hurting myself?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you need to also work with a physical therapist or a physical specialist who knows the golf swing and knows about taking care of your back, so that they can say to you, you can make that swing, you're not going to hurt yourself. Now, that's the part in your head.
Yes.
But the emotional part and the fear is there. So then you have to practice saying, I can trust that I can make that move without hurting myself. And go ahead and make the move and rate yourself on how committed a swing you made. You can do this on the range. And say, okay, I can do that. Now, I don't really want you to go in and try to make a whole lot of swing adjustments right before your tournament. But I'm talking about this as an overall thing. Okay, so that's what you do. Now I have, I've tweaked my back in the past, and now it's better actually. But my muscles still hurt a little bit when I make a particular move. But I've checked it out with the physical therapist, and the physical therapist said, no, you can do that. If it feels a little painful, that's just the muscles. You're not hurting yourself. So I even have the thought, I make my practice swing and I say, go after it and accept the pain. Now, when I do that, I free it up and make a swing. And in fact, it doesn't really hurt that much.
Yeah.
Because the pain really comes from clenching and fighting the swing. If I let go, it doesn't hurt that much. But I don't want to tell you to do that until you've checked with the physical therapist and make sure that what you're doing isn't going to hurt you. Now you got to dance with the one that brought you. When you go into that tournament, you have to dance with the one that brought you. So knowing that your swing isn't as consistent as it used to be, what does that mean for your dispersion pattern? It means it's going to be bigger. So you need to play in a little more conservative way of your target selection and your club selection. Maybe you don't hit driver off of a lot of holes. If you're a 12, you're going to get 12 shots. So if a long par 4 is now a par 5 for you. Adjust your scorecard for your personal par. So literally write in a different number on those 12 holes that you get a stroke on, or 13 if you're a 12 index, you may get 13 shots. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Then play with the idea of what's going to give me my best chance for my lowest score on the hole without taking an unnecessary risk. Well, if your driver is not behaving, I have a saying about drivers. Drivers are like horses. They can smell fear. So if your driver can smell fear, then it's going to, whoa, down, hang on there. And it's going to go all over the place. So hit a hybrid off the tee. If you feel good about your hybrid, hit a hybrid. But don't try to hit it as far as your driver. Whether it's a 5-wood or a 3-wood or a driver. And if you do that and don't worry about how far it's going to go, it'll probably go really far. Pick a spot in the fairway that's well within reach. How far do you think you carry your driver right now?
Well, about 230.
I don't believe you. Now, the reason I can say that is because everybody overestimates how far they carry their driver, okay? So what I want you to do is look for a spot no more than 200 yards out and say, that's where I need to hit it to. It's going to take all the pressure off your swing. You're going to make a much smoother swing, and you might even hit it 230, okay? But don't, look for a spot that's well within reach. And if you decide to hit your 3-wood, look for a spot that's only 180 yards out there. That's all you need. And if your long 450-yard par 4 turns into a par 5, you don't need to hit it more than 200 yards on your tee shot. Make it easier on yourself. Now, the second part of double and triple bogeys and things like that, that all comes from adding extra pressure on yourself. So by changing the par on the scorecard, that's going to take some of the pressure off of you. And you use the word trying to make the putt. Well, if you try to make a putt and you hit it 6 feet by, you didn't really give it a chance, because you turned the hole into something about the size of a dime. And if you're concerned about others and keeping the pace up, that's just going to make it worse. If you have to back off from a shot, go ahead and back off, and just everybody will understand. Just say, I'm just having trouble getting comfortable. And I want you to flip it. If someone else that you're playing with said that to you, would you be impatient with them? No, not unless they did it on every hole. Okay, so once in a while, if you're not comfortable, get out of there, because it'll take a lot less time to reset and get comfortable, and maybe even switch clubs and just say, you know what, I'm just not comfortable hitting driver here. Put it away. Do your whole pre-shot routine again, because they'll be very happy that you hit it in the fairway and they don't have to help you look for your ball in the woods. They will be much happier. And if you're concerned about pace, just be ready when it's your turn. That's the best thing that you can do. Once you get near the green, just do your best to get up and down, but don't force it and say, I have to get up and down. Just say, I want to put the best stroke on this shot that I can and see what happens. I want to put the best roll on this putt that I can and see what happens. Because you're so focused on score and your handicap and all these things, it's actually getting you out of your process. Take care of your process. Do a good routine. Make it as committed a swing as you can, and then go play it from where it ends up. But give yourself a lot of room. Accept a bigger dispersion pattern, and don't be as hard on yourself for balls that don't go exactly where you expect them to. Okay. Just say, I'm going to work on my game after the tournament. Right now, I'm just going to give myself a lot of room to play, because in golf, you aim at a spot, but you play to an area. Give yourself a nice big area.
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
Okay. So I see that Fred has a question here. Committing to a shot. I'm going to read it for you. Decide and commit. You realize after the shot that you didn't commit, like in the back of your mind, maybe you have too much club, or you held back. Any little trick I like this, to remind myself not to be a knucklehead. It says remind myself to be a knucklehead. I think you mean not to be a knucklehead, and remember to commit. Okay, so first, stop calling yourself a knucklehead, because everybody forgets to commit, okay? But what you can do is make that your most important score. Switch the most important score to your commitment level. And you can do it on a 1 to 5 scale, trying to have a lot of 4s and 5s, or you can just say, did I commit or not? And don't be too hard on yourself. If it's pretty much committed, call it committed, okay? And just say, what percentage of shots can I make with close to full commitment? Now, I worked with Christy Kerr on this, and we made that her measure of success. And when we did the stats, we found that if she were 80% In other words, 4 out of 5 shots she hit were with full commitment. And you can include chips and pitches and putts, just not tap-ins, but regular, putts that you go through your full routine on. If she was 80%, she was in contention. Anytime she was 90%, 9 out of 10 fully committed shots, she won the tournament. And when she played in the LPGA Championship, she shot 19 under par, and second place was 7 under par. She set the record for margin of victory in that major championship of 12-shot victory. And we reviewed all 4 rounds, and there were only 6 shots in 4 rounds that she did not hit with full commitment. 98% full commitment. And that's when you set records. So that's the answer, is to make a commitment before your round that that's your score, and that you're going to write a score down for every shot. You're either going to give you a check mark for full commitment, or a 1 to 5 rating where 4 or 5 is full commitment, and that's what you're going to do, so that when you're about to play an anyway, I call them the anyways. You gave a couple examples that, right as I was about to swing, I felt like I had too much club, or I was afraid of where I might go, left, right, or in trouble somehow, and I stopped at the ball. All of those are anyways, that you weren't really ready to make a committed swing, but you went ahead anyway. Those don't turn out so well. So the answer is, as we were talking to Peter, back off, get out of there if you don't feel like you can make a committed swing, and go through your process and say, yep, I can do that. And it brings me to a particular topic for people to understand why he called it, now I think it was a little sexist to call it a weak sister to the right. You just hit a weak shot to the right. Let's clarify that. And that comes from kind of stopping at the ball, holding back. Fear of a bad outcome is the main source of interference. Actually worry about whether it's a bad or good outcome, because trying to make it come out well, you manipulate and help the shot. Worry about a bad outcome, you prevent it from going where you don't want it to go. And worry overall about the shot, and you hold back and don't really make a fully committed swing. So whether it's helping, preventing, or holding back, all of those interfere with that free-flowing swing. So you need to remove those so that you can make that committed swing. And you remove those by not hitting shots that you were worried about the outcome. Change your club, be aware of your dispersion pattern, and say, wherever I can hit this, I can accept it. If you can accept whatever the result is going to be of your shot, then you can swing without fear. If you can't accept it, then you're going to either hold back, help, or prevent, or some combination of the 3. Okay? I hope that's helpful. Anybody else have a question? I'm gonna say, anybody who wants to you can unmute yourself. So if you have a question, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I'll do one of the ones that was sent in. Sometimes I feel like the professor in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anybody? Anybody? That was Ben Stein, actually, was the professor in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's a great movie. I highly recommend it. Okay, so one of the questions that came in, let's find that, was, someone asked me if there were any new ideas. Zen Golf, it's the 20th anniversary of Zen Golf coming up. It came out in spring of 2002. So 2022 will be the 20th anniversary of Zen Golf. And Ken and I are working on another golf book. I don't think we're going to put out a 20th anniversary edition of Zen Golf. We haven't heard from the publisher. When I asked about a 10th anniversary edition, the editor said, "It's selling great. Why would we do a new edition?" So it's still selling great. Thank you to all of you. So we probably won't get to do a 20th anniversary edition of Zen Golf. We may do one as an ebook, but we have to work on that. But we will do another golf book that'll come out exactly 20 years after Zen Golf came out. But the question was, are there new things or revisions? Well, there are two things. One, Zen Golf didn't have, it had the habit changing technique, but I hadn't named it the ninja system yet. So we're adjusting that to the ninja system: necessary intention and non-judgmental awareness. That's the technique I was talking about for habit change. And then the other is the chapter, Where is Your Target? Now, what the exercise there is to check your alignment and your body awareness of your target, your relation to your target. And in that exercise, in that chapter, you set up and get all set up, and you take your target side hand of your right-handed golfer, your left hand off the club, you close your eyes, and you take your left hand off the club and you point to where you think the target is with your index finger. Then you open your eyes and look without moving your body to see where you're pointing. And if it's off, then you know that your awareness of where the target is doesn't match where it actually is. So you adjust your finger, feel what that feels like, and then do it several times. Now, what confused people was they thought that their body was, and their shoulder line across their shoulders was supposed to point toward their target that they're aiming at. Well, it's fine if you're doing archery because the arrow is going right across your shoulders. But in this case, your arrow, which is the ball, is a foot or at least 2 feet away from you. Well, that means it's a parallel track. Parallel track, the club face is pointing that way, but your body is parallel to it over here. So what I have people do very often is pick two targets. One, the target that they're going to line their club face to, and then look a few yards to the left of that. Quite a ways to the left if you have a driver, because the ball's the farthest away from you with your driver. But so about 15 yards left of your target with the driver, and align your shoulders and your hips and your feet and your knees and your whole body to that. About 10 yards for a mid-iron and about 5 yards for a wedge. So that's the revision that we're going to do when we put out the next ebook. Just that chapter. That's the only one that we're revising. But there are lots of new things, like the game plan that I talked about of give yourself the best chance for a net birdie without taking unnecessary risk, and the aim at a spot to play to an area. None of that was in Zen Golf. Or if it is, I don't remember it. So we'll be looking back through and doing another book that should come out in, what would that be, about 1.5 years. Another question was, break the self-manifested habit of following birdies with bogeys. There's actually an expression in golf for that. It has initials PBFU. And you could say it's post-birdie foul up, but some people use a different word for the F. But it's post-birdie foul up. And that is, we get excited after we made a birdie, either in a positive way. We get excited and then we do things that we have no business doing. We swing our driver with abandon, or we take a club that we thought before we couldn't reach the green with, but oh, I just made a birdie, I can reach the green with that. Just make bad decisions. Or we say, "Oh, I made a birdie. I don't want to follow it up with a bogey," and then we play preventive, avoiding golf, and we, as in Zen Golf, there's a chapter, you produce what you fear. So that's really basically it. Again, this game plan solves that problem. You made a birdie, congratulations. It's over. Ball in hand, new start. Whether you made a birdie or a bogey or a double or a triple, whatever it was on the last hole, the next hole you start fresh with the game plan, give myself the best chance for net birdie or birdie without taking an unnecessary risk. I think I've offered everybody to unmute if they would like. So if you want to and you have a comment, go ahead. If not, I'll go to the next question. Anybody? Anybody?
Doc, this is,
Hello.
hi. One of the things I think you and I have talked about in the past is, you know, every day is a different day. Every second we're different and that kind of thing. And sometimes I guess I've gotten to a funk or whatever, just thinking every golf swing should be the same, or even getting this thing that's the same every time. And having the ability to let go of thinking that's the correct way and have the acceptance that, hey, that worked yesterday, it might not work today. And I tried to be mindful of that when I was out at the practice range this week. And if something wasn't working, just give myself the freedom to go, okay, let's try this. Let's move the ball up or back, whatever, in my stance, or let's, you know, change my hands moving forward, or my alignment, just whatever. Like, let's not be so attached to the fact that you think something has to be one way that you won't try something else to see if it'll work. And is that more about the way we should be thinking as golfers?
I think that's a great way of thinking. Johnny Miller had a name for swing thoughts or swing keys. He said they were wood. Work only one day. WOOD. They work only one day. Well, you know, as you said, we're different, and we have swing feels and swing keys, and yes, much of the difference comes from subtle differences in our setup. We all have tendencies. There's a tendency for the ball to start, you know, we say the ball to creep forward in our stance. What happens is our stance creeps backward and the ball position ends up more forward. We have a tendency to get closer or further from the ball. Sometimes as the round goes on, I know that's me, I tend to get further and further and further from the ball as the round goes on. And I look and I see that I've made impact on the toe, and I say, what's going on? And then I realize that's my tendency. So know your tendencies, particularly with regard to setup. And then, so that's one of the things that you can take care of. Tendencies in regard to setup, posture, all of those things. Another one is the tendency that we have. We are so excited to see that beautiful shot fly through the air that we start looking earlier and earlier and earlier. We may have worked on that and say, yep, I'm going to hit it, and then I'm going to look. But then the next time I hit it, and then I look. And the next time I hit it, and look a little sooner. And then pretty soon I'm swinging and looking at the same time. and so there's that tendency as we go through. But as far as your swing being the same every time, I have an exercise for you. Just sign your name, and then sign it again right on top of it. And sign it again right on top of it. You know how to sign your name. Do you expect your signature to be exactly identical? No, you're going to see little corridors that the pen moves through. Well, your swing moves through corridors. I got that from Jim McLean. Corridors. Now, if you go outside your corridor, you're going to get a pretty wonky result. But as long as you're in your corridor, let's take the physics. As long as you swing in that swing corridor, the club face is going to come to the ball pretty much the same, but it'll differ based on the corridor. So then it'll have an area that it hits on the club face. And that area, not that one exact spot. I've seen the best pros, and I look at their wedge. It's not a one tiny spot where it's one dimple big. It's the size, for them, they're so good, it's the size of a dime. The not so good ones, it's the size of a quarter. But it's still a worn place on their wedge. They hit it that often there. But it's not the size of a dimple, which means that anywhere, if it's the size of a dime, it's anywhere from 1/4 inch towards the toe, or 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch towards the towards the toe or heel from the sweet spot. Well, the further you are from the sweet spot, the further towards the edges of your dispersion pattern goes. And that's why it's an area that you're playing to. So it's a corridor that you're swinging through. It's an area on the club face that you're hitting the ball. And it's an area that it's going to end up. That's not even to mention that corridor has, and the sequencing that you do. The sequencing and rhythm can be a tiny bit off. When you dance, you don't do the same move every single time exactly the same. Your rhythm is pretty much the same, but it changes a little bit, which means that how square the club face is to impact changes a little bit each time. So that's how you get your dispersion pattern. And so the acceptance comes from that variation. And that's great. Accept the area of your dispersion pattern. Then you accept the contact that you're making at impact, and accept your swing moving through corridors rather than being identical the same. And that's why I like to use the path that the ball's taking on the green rather than the line it has to stay on. A line has no width. It's impossible to stay on a line. It doesn't exist as a width. A path has width. And the hole is 4 1/4 inches wide. So you have at least a 4-inch path that ball can travel on. Give yourself a break. You aim at a spot, you play to an area. That's the whole way the game is played. And then you won't put so much pressure on your swing because, hey, that was in my corridor. That came pretty close to the sweet spot. I landed in my area. Looks good.
I appreciate it.
Well, gang, if no one else has a question, I'm going to, again, offer anybody to unmute who wants to. I think I did that right. There. Everybody's allowed to unmute if you want. Make any comment you want, and then we'll say goodbye. We have a nice quiet
Well, I'd just like to say how wonderful it is to see you again, and both of the classes have been great. Thanks ever so much.
My pleasure. And that's Jenny from the UK.
Yay.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
It's still morning here on the West Coast. It's afternoon in the other time zones in the US and Canada, and evening in Europe.
7:30 p.m.
Now, you got to clarify, is that 8:30? Is that what they call that?
No, 7:30.
7:30. Oh, in Ireland, they call it half 7 or something like that. I could never get it straight.
7:30.
Ron, were you going to say something, Ron? Oh, Ran.
Yeah, Ran. Yeah, hi, Dr. Joe. I just have a request or an inquiry. Do you have any plans to do clinics in Ojai anytime soon? I just want to put the word out there. I'm really looking forward to that.
I hope that we will be able to. Right now, just a little nervous about it. You know, there keeps being new information, and they're doing a really good job at the end of their safety precautions, but it isn't 100%.
Okay.
And I don't want to put anybody in a situation. You know, I could say when California gets down to under 5% positive, then we'll look into it.
Okay, I respect that. It's because Chivas Iron Society announced the event in San Francisco for October.
Mm-hmm.
I'm planning to go, so I'm feeling that maybe we're coming together again soon.
Yeah, well, we'd like to do one for the Chivas Iron Society in Ojai, but I need to feel comfortable and I'm not putting people at risk.
Of course, I respect that.
Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. May the benefit of this session come not only to ourselves, but to others. And please stay healthy, stay safe, stay committed, and have fun.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. Love you. Bye.